You know, I like when the intro is short and sweet, so we're going to do this right now. Steve Swift joining everyone, as usual, for the Bees of Boxing. Because, I mean, it's the Bees of Boxing with Steve Swift. Have you guys not figured that out yet? I mean, really. Steve, how are you doing this week?
Very well, thank you. Calm,
Calm?
Sunday.
Okay.
Calm,
Okay.
calm,
right.
which is unusual for me. Very calm, taking it easy, reading about politics, watching the football. I just watched Live and Let Die. So it's a good Bond movie, but it's got too much in it. They try and do too many things.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Bees of Boxing with an inebriated Steve Swift. He's clearly drunk from Power and thinks that Live or Let Die was a good movie. Here, I have a question for you, though, Steve, because we're going to talk some boxing. We have a term over here. I don't know if you guys have that over there in the jolly old land of gypsies. We have a term called boots to asses. Which is basically, something that you say when you kick the living tar out of someone's ass. You know what I'm saying? When you beat somebody up, it's called boots to ass, right?
Yeah, we don't have it over here. It's not genteel enough. It's not the kind of thing the king would say, and consequently, we don't have it. What we say is, would you mind if I introduce my size 9 to your upholstered posterior? And by then, they've run away.
Yeah, well, because you've asked for permission.
We do.
I mean, if only Prince Andrew had asked for more permission, he wouldn't be in the situation that he's in.
Moving on.
Listen, over here, this phrase comes in quite handy because we saw it happen. And by boots to ass, I mean Jaron Boots Ennis came out and did exactly what he was supposed to do. He laid boots to asses on Zayas, right? Now, that's not to say that Xander Zayas exposed a few things. Let's get into that. First of all, what did you think of the fight overall? And what did you think of Boots' performance? And what did you think of Xander?
It was a fantastic fight. I mean, people are saying fight of the year, but then every single good fight, people say fight of the year. They decided, both of them. And I mean, afterwards, Boots Ennis said he gave himself a C-. And I can understand why he said that, because he said I deviated from my game plan. He didn't use the word deviated because he's not British and cultured in that way. But he did say that he didn't stick to his game plan, and he found himself in the corner, with his back to the corner, quite a lot. Zayas came to fight. Mm-hmm. And there is no way that performance will have harmed him except at the highest level. So, Boots, though, the great thing about the Boots performance was he said, okay, you want to fight? You want to get in a phone booth? I'll do that with you. Mm-hmm. But plus, he was harmed in the third round. And that is all to the good for Boots, because that means people will want to fight him.
Well, and, it's funny you say that. I mean, the C- grade, it's always weird when guys grade themselves. That's not really for you to decide. I don't know. Maybe he gave himself a C plus or a C- or whatever it was because of maybe that's the best he did in school. I don't know. Listen, what I'm going to say about Boots Ennis is the same thing that I've said for years now. When I first witnessed this guy 3-4 years ago, at least, I said, this guy is going to be something special. And everybody was like, oh, I don't know. You're kind of crazy. What are you talking about? No. I've been on the Boots train for quite some time, and I continue to be that way. But yes, in that third round, and maybe it's because I just kind of watched it recently, but that third round really had a Hagler feel to it. You know what I'm saying? Right? That when that third round, the boxing history legend of the third round, these guys lived up to that hype. But Boots Ennis got exposed a little bit in this. So much so that immediately after, of course, like everything does, nobody in the boxing world seems to let any boxer, get their credit, have their flowers, do their thing, right? No. Virgil Ortiz is like, hey, because my lawsuit stuff is all taken care of and I'm ready to fight again, well, I'm going to get all lippy. And he comes out and goes right after it. But this brings my question. So Boots Ennis is the WBA and the WBO champion, right? However, there are a couple of guys that are champions in that same weight division who hold the belt for the WBC. Virgil Ortiz being the interim champion or the champion, whatever, in recess, whatever you want to call it right now. And then there's the guy that everybody seems to want to avoid, Sebastian Fundora. What do you think of the potential lineup to solidify and get all the belts? What do you think Boots Ennis's chances are against either of those guys?
I think it's a firefight with Virgil Ortiz. I think it's Boots Ennis. His speed will help him against Sebastian Fundora. Someone's got to get in there before he can throw that long lever and then get out. And I think Boots might be able to do that. I mean, the thing is, the only issue we have is, I don't know what you think about the third round when he was quite, I mean, he wasn't badly hurt, but he was glassy-eyed. It wasn't good for him.
He was glassy-eyed, and he had this look on his face like, oh, shit, I'm in a fight with a guy who wants to fight.
Yes, I also thought that, I don't know whether it was anything in his fundamental game that was exposed at that point. I just think he lost concentration when so many punches are being thrown, and it's attritional. I know we use that word a lot, but it was I'm not just going to throw one punch and then leave it. I'm going to throw 4 or 5. So I'm going to throw 4 or 5. That was extraordinary. And I think it just becomes a situation of what's my next punch. And I've just taken my eye off the glove, really. So I think it was that, but he shipped a punch, and as you say, was glassy-eyed. I mean, his knees buckled a little. He was with his back to the ropes. That was lucky. And he did seem to have some of his wits around him, unlike Zayas, who was deposited on the canvas 3 times. But he did seem to be unsure of himself. Now, if he can't ship a punch, what am I going to say? I'm going to say if he can't ship a punch. But actually, that was an extraordinary amount of punches that he took a load of punches. Let's be clear. And, and Zayas took more. I think he might have some success against Sebastian Fundora to get in and out quickly. The thing with Boots is, and I think you're right about being on the Boots train, which has a lovely dinner cart. It's beautiful. The deviled kidneys are just fabulous. And Boots, he will serve them to you if you pay a premium.
Well, I mean, listen, we all know that cheesesteak is served on that train, because I don't know if you know this or not, I am a Philly do or die guy when it comes to the Eagles, and also when it comes to those boxers as well, and fighters, MMA fighters. Philly represent, right? Shout out to our good friend of the show as well over at the law, the Blue Meanie. So hope you're enjoying your Sunday there, Bri. Listen, I don't think the smart move for Boots right now is to be asking for that fight, though. I think the money move is to let these two knuckleheads, let Virgil Ortiz and Sebastian Fundora figure it out. Let Virgil Ortiz, who says, he comes out and says, called Xander Zayas a pussy and all this stuff. And he's going to go after everybody because that's what he does. But let him try to figure out, or at least give you a little bit more footage on how to do that against a Sebastian Fundora. Because the problem is, and we saw it last night, sometimes when Boots gets going, because he's a knockout guy, those hands get low. You can't do that against a guy who's got a 37-mile reach on you. And that's what Sebastian Fundora does for this amount of time. The second problem with that is you don't want to get in close enough with him and try to box out that body on him so much, because Sebastian Fundora will throw some elbows. Ask Tim Tszyu how that worked out. It's probably, in my opinion, the most dangerous riddle to try to figure out in boxing.
Yes, you're sorry to jump in. You're right. What we as pundits and boxing fans do is we want to solve that riddle for everybody else, don't we? Yeah. So we jump in and say, it must be Boots Ennis then. It must be.
If somebody's got a chance, because and maybe it's because we've seen what happened, like where Terrence Crawford ended up before he quote retired from boxing, and we've seen those kind of specials, what we've seen with like a Sugar Ray Leonard, what we've seen over the years with guys these generational kind of guys that come along. What it seems like though, is that this generation has more of those guys. There's a lot of guys in there, for the longest time, Tank Davis was one of those guys, but that doesn't seem to be the case right now. He's got a lot of personal stuff going on, and it's kind of removed him from the world of boxing. Do you think Tank will even come back to boxing, Steve?
No, I don't think he will. I mean, he didn't want it when he fought Lamont Roach. That was a while ago. Lamont Roach frustrated him. And I can understand how, there's an arrogance around Gervonta Davis, and there has to be in boxing. I'm not saying that's that's what happens with boxers. But for him, and I know I keep coming back to this, to take the knee and have his face wiped in the middle of a fight shows he's not up for that fight, because you bite down on your fucking gum shield and you find a way to figure out the conundrum, or you don't and you lose. But you try and find a way to do it. You don't take a fucking knee in the middle of the ring and say, I'm just going to get my face washed. And the ref goes, oh, that's all right. Do you want to have a fucking cheese sandwich as well while you're at it? So I'm not that he did say that. And I'm very angry about that. You know that. Plus, in the meantime, or after that, in the abortive Jake Paul fight, or the aborted Jake Paul fight, he made some comments around boxing, not being happy with boxing. And he doesn't want to do the Floyd Schofield fight. He clearly doesn't want to do it. I mean, I know we've got problems with, Oscar's talking about all of that, but, he doesn't want to do it. And the WBA have rewarded him for not fighting. How ridiculous is that?
Well, not only have they rewarded him, I want to get your thoughts on this, because the WBA is moving on, it looks like. And Floyd Schofield is going to be fighting for that belt against Lucas Body. Here's the bigger question. Congratulations. Shout out Lucas Body. I mean, for doing what he's done. Clearly the B-side in this, clearly being brought in because they know that this guy is a guy who will bite down on his gum shield and fight and swing and go. But Floyd Schofield is being set up to win this thing. But my question to you is, how do you feel knowing that Jake Paul has one of his guys fighting for a legitimate title in Lucas Body? That's an MVP guy right there.
Yeah, but I don't feel that it's not as if it's Jake Paul doing it, or
no. But is he getting closer to that table?
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. Because actually, with the comments about MVP, and actually we did okay. Our figures are comparable to fights 250. That's not the case, it seems.
Sure.
But you can extrapolate figures out, or depending on when you say it, when you announce it, all that stuff really works for him. Plus, he's putting on cards which people like, and that side of things is a very big. It's a very big difference between Jake Paul, I'm going to carve you up and put you on a slab, fighting you, and Jake Paul, the promoter. Very different. So I don't feel. Yes, he is getting closer. I don't feel too bad about Lucas Body being there. He is a competition winner, but it seems in some way. But really, for Floyd Schofield, not so much for Lucas, for Floyd Schofield, he's got to be looking over his shoulder, because the WBA have made Gervonta Tank Davis now official champion in recess. So at any time he can say, actually, do you know what? I fancy coming back. And then he'll be able to do that, no matter who is champion. So Floyd, don't get too comfortable, mate.
We've already seen this happen before. They did it with Badu Jack, remember?
Yeah.
I mean, of course they can do something like this. I don't I mean, clearly they're just waiting to see what happens with, with any kind of court cases and stuff like that. But at some point, don't you just have to cut ties? Because it's court case after court case after court case, and you can only scream, "It's the system against me," so many times.
They have to do a cost ratio in a way of reputational damage for their sanctioning body versus big name. And the reason why he's still there is because, I'm sorry, Floyd, he's a bigger name than you. It's a bigger name than you, and it's a bigger name than many others. There are fan groups galore. If I do a podcast and put it into a well-known, social media platform, and I put hashtag Floyd Schofield, you won't get any takers. If I put hashtag Tank Davis, you get 100,000. Mm-hmm. So that's the basis of this. I know it sounds simplistic, but that's what it is. The only reason why he's champion recess is because he's a notifiable face. But you're quite right. At some point, they're going to have to say, this is affecting our reputation, isn't it?
Yes.
And if the court cases don't go well for that particular boxer, then they will cut ties. They'll have to.
It's funny you mentioned reputation, because there's a certain reputation that goes around with being the biggest dog on the mountain. And the biggest dog on the mountain for the years has always been the heavyweight champion. Is Oleksandr Usyk's reputation going to get tarnished because he's decided to give up these belts, and it looks like kind of go after this Deontay Wilder fight that we kind of talked about a little bit here, maybe earlier in the year?
Yes, first of all, let me say, is there a phrase that is the biggest dog on the mountain? Have I missed something? And where is that dog? Which mountain does that dog call home? And how big is that dog?
Oh, it's a very large dog. The dog that he calls home, it happens he also shares it. It's the Hall of the Mountain King.
Oh, that's what that's about. Yeah. And Cher is involved as well.
100%. Yes. Cher. Oh, right. Or as other people refer to all of the other bands that sound like Cher, Theory of a Creedleback. That's what they all are. Anyways.
Yes. To get back to boxing. Yes, he's, well, there's the Ajit Kabayel feel, which is, thank you very much, Alexander.
Because what is that? Okay, first of all, what is that? Who's like, anybody who's fuck? All right, Kabayel, you're the champ now. Here's your belt.
It has been done very quickly by the WBC. And Mauricio Sullivan said, how wonderful Oleksandr Usyk was. But he also said, I wish you'd have told us. But I understand this social media thing now. Yeah, he didn't even fucking tell you. So, that's how close you were, Mauricio, with him. Now, the thing is that you can do the marvelous of him to do that. He's clearly thinking of the heavyweight division. You could do that, or you could call absolute bullshit on it, which I do. And remember, I used to be an Usyk fan until recently. And you could say, you're a gatekeeper. You don't fucking care about the IBF or the WBA titles. You've done nothing with them for about a year. When did he fight Dubois? About a year ago, isn't it? You've done nothing with them since then. You've blocked yourself into a corner when you used to play so well with this business of boxing game. But since you said I've got 3 fights left, 3 fights around titles left, the retirement, then you've messed it up for yourself, because Verhoeven didn't go well. That was your fantasy booking situation with WBC. And then you've got the WBC saying, well, we want a piece of that. And the IBF being smart, if you remember, because he asked them if he could not fight for the title. And that would have meant dropping the title. And I think what Usyk wanted to do was to say, I want the IBF title. They've stripped me of it, the little bleeders. But they were smart and said, no, you keep the title. If you win it, that's fine. You can fight Frank Sanchez. If you lose it, all bets are off. So he's a gatekeeper. I'm really glad he's done it, because, yes, it does tarnish his reputation, but then that reputation was tarnished anyway because he did nothing with the belts. And I'm an old head and a purist. I think we've established that now. And I want the belts to be looked after. If you earn the money and the respect for getting those belts, as Sebastian Fundora says, then you need to look after them. So this opens the door beautifully for sanctioning bodies to say, well, at the top of the shop, which is what everyone looks at, we've got these great fights coming up. Zuffa won't like that, because what they wanted was for those belts to be suppressed by Usyk.
I think they kind of are. I think they kind of are suppressed, though, because you've kind of like, there's an old adage, you know, like, are you really the champion unless you beat the champion? Or were you just the best option they had? Because that's always going to be the question, right? Now Usyk could go, if Usyk leaves, let's say, for example, Usyk decides to go and fight fucking F.A. Ajagba for the heavyweight title, the Zuffa heavyweight title, and get paid $1 skrillion that nobody knows about or anything like that. And he wins decisively, and now he becomes the Zuffa champion as well. Well, nobody ever beat him for those other ones, so we would still talk about him the same way we talk about Jai Opetaia. Jai Opetaia is the lineal champion without the belts. Am I right? We do the same thing with Usyk.
Yeah, but I don't see Opetaia that way. I think it all depends what the sanctioning bodies do. It's not as if they're saying, you, the one who parks cars, and you, the one who served me my donut. Come on.
That's exactly what they did. They just gave a fucking belt to Ajit Kabayel.
No, but he's the mandatory challenger. It's not as if he's just come off the street. These are mandatory challengers. So consequently, you know, Gassiev is a mandatory challenger. He's called the regular champion. They will probably push him up to the super champion. You know, same with Ajit Kabayel, the same with Frank Sanchez. They have fought to be mandatory challengers. So it's not as if they're saying, go on, you portly guy, come over here, Butterbean, do you want to have a go? You know, for instance, although he's not portly anymore. But the thing is that it all depends how they draw a line in the sand and how they sell this. If it's, that was then, this is now. Look at these exciting fights. You could have a contender series situation here if they do it right. I worry they won't.
So let me ask you this then. What's the difference with the governing bodies making Tank Davis a champion in recess, and why not do the same exact thing with Oleksandr Usyk if he's deciding to step away from this stuff?
I think because he said, that's it, I vacated the titles. I mean, I know I'm going to give you a bullshit excuse here. I know I am, because the WBA, as you heard earlier, I really fucking hate what they've done. I think it's outrageous.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, and we know that this is a patchy picture, but Usyk vacated, Tank Davis didn't. He's just working through some things at the moment. I hate myself for saying that, but that's the excuse that you could give. Yeah, I know you've walked me into it. And actually, I ran with open fucking arms into it, like Eddie Hearn to an IFL interview, you know, so, or any interview actually. So I just think that they might be able to make those sanctioning bodies, if they do it correctly, which they probably won't, might be able to make the heavyweight title picture look tasty. And I would love that.
So would I. And I think that's really what this needs to be. I think that more people need to focus on that part of it and just let Usyk do what he wants to do. We've done it before with heavyweight fighters. We've done it before with other fighters as well. Let him do what he wants to do. What this does is as much as I hate to say it, I think Eddie Hearn kind of got it right where it does. It opens up, because for the longest time, the entire heavyweight division, it was bottlenecked. And it was based on what Oleksandr Usyk decided that he wanted to do. Well, then eventually it's going to come down to either shit or get off the pot. And so for that, I'm very grateful, because now you can see some of these up and coming heavyweight fighters really start to blossom, and really, because maybe they wouldn't get the kind of billing against an Oleksandr Usyk, but fuck it. I'm here for seeing, you know, Tara Moana take on Ajit Kabayel all day long, because neither one of those names have that marquee value. So it's okay as long as the matchup is favorable. Then that's really what we need to get back to doing with this heavyweight division.
Frank Sanchez versus Richard Riakporhe.
I'm in.
Champ versus 10th. I mean, what a fight. As far as your question about Usyk goes, he's still in trouble. It didn't, I just podcasted about this actually, it didn't go away because he said, I'm relinquishing the belts then, and with one bound I am free. Because he might have 2 more fights. He might say, fuck it, I'll have 10 more fights and then I'll retire. But it all depends who he picks. It all depends who his opponents are. If he's picking Deontay Wilder, who wants to see that fight after the Derek Chisora fight? Who wants to see that? You know, Deontay Wilder's a competition winner.
I'll tell you who wants to see it. Every common fan in North America on Paramount Plus. That's who would want to see it.
You're probably right. I'm a purist, aren't I? Fuck's sake.
The problem is that if Zuffa decides to put on Oleksandr Usyk versus Deontay Wilder on Paramount Plus, everybody is going to be going, oh, well, fuck us, huh?
Oh, Christ, what a fight that would be. Yeah. I mean, it finishes within 3 rounds. You know, even though he's not got great punching power.
We know that fucking Hagler Hearns finished in 3 rounds. We would go back and watch that every single time for what it was for those 3 rounds. The fight that we just saw on this past weekend between Xander Zayas and Boots Ennis could have very well ended in 3 rounds, right? So we're here for it.
Then you have to market it correctly because, well, Windy Pops, I take your point about Hagler and Hearns, but there was enmity there. And, you know, and you are talking about, you know, you're talking about that period, aren't you? You're talking about the quartet, really, aren't you? So you'd need to, I mean, there's nothing at stake here. You know, I mean, Usyk can say, I watched you growing up, but it's not as if he's saying, well, I really wanted to fight you all the time. And even if he is saying that, I'm not buying that. So you would need to market it correctly. It would need to be Deontay Wilder's last chance, everybody. Whether he would allow that, I don't know.
Or because this is Zuffa and they've got the whole Thai TKO and UFC and WWE, and they've already created a BMF belt for the UFC. I mean, why not a BBMF? The boxing's baddest mother. It wouldn't surprise me.
What about the HBB, the has-been belt? What about that one? I'm not saying either of those people should be working for that belt. Of course not, because Deontay knows where I live. So, but how about that? The has-been belt. There were loads of people who could come out hiding for that. Shannon Briggs, he could. No, he's not has-been. He's still a great contender.
Oh, shut up. You notice who you didn't say was Tyson Fury. And what else I didn't hear come out of your mouth?
Come to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
Why would that come out of my mouth? Why on earth would it?
That is foolproof logic based on fact. Right there. Okay, Steve.
I mean, you spat some truth there at me. You really did.
That's what I'm doing. It's called spitting. So called spitting game, apparently, Steve. Tremendous. All right. Well, listen, we've got a lot more stuff that we've got to cover in boxing, and we will next week because that's the beautiful thing of the bees of boxing. Steve, as always, absolute pleasure. Thank you to all of you who are listening to this on any of your podcast providers or watching this on YouTube or anywhere else that you might be streaming it, downloading it, and doing all of those things. We appreciate it. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Is Oleksandr Usyk really going to tarnish any kind of legacy? Is Deontay Wilder going to come in and spoil somebody's going away party? Who knows? Or if there's anything else you want to talk about, just drop us a line. We'd be more than happy to discuss it. I'm Chris. He's Steve. And one thing you always got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And the rest of us, we tuck our chins.